So Valorant has been out for a few years on the PC now. More recently come to the consoles, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. From the makers of League of Legends, Riot Games. First-person shooters, a bit of a departure from them. What is this based on?
In one word, Counter-Strike. Well, more than one word, but it's very much a Counter-Strike clone, with the main difference being you choose different agents with different abilities. So kind of like your Overwatch, Apex Legends kind of thing. But in terms of gameplay, it is near enough Counter-Strike.
So you've got a principal 5 versus 5 mode. There's a buying phase. You can buy things on the shop. This will be very familiar to anyone who's played Counter-Strike, and indeed anyone who's more recently played Fortnite Ballistic, which is another mode which basically lifted the bomb mode from Counter-Strike. Is this objective-based or team deathmatch?
But it does have team deathmatch and some other modes, but most people play the objective, and the objective is to defend the Spike 2 locations. There's 2 locations on a map. Some maps have 3 locations. And you're defending them, stopping the enemies, getting the bomb down, and if they do, killing them and defusing. Or if you're the attackers, planting a bomb and defending it till it goes off. Again, like Counter-Strike. And you mentioned about the buy phases. You obviously have money, so for less times you die, you obviously get better money to keep, to be able to buy more guns, better guns, keep your money up. Sometimes you have to do a round of just buying pistols because you can't afford them and you can all get on good money. So strategy and managing your money to be able to afford the best assault rifles is a key element of the game.
So if you stay alive, do you keep your weapons in between rounds?
Yes, you do, yeah.
Right, which obviously saves a lot of money as well.
100%. Sometimes strategies are, if you've won, you want to kill the enemy team, keep their money down, keep yours ahead.
Now, how does this compare? Obviously, it's a first-person shooter, but it's more in the Counter-Strike camp. How does it compare to something like Call of Duty, which is obviously a more arcadey, fast-paced team deathmatch style of game?
It's complete difference. Like with Counter-Strike, accuracy is so important, and movement. If you're moving whilst you're shooting, spraying and praying, you will miss your shots. You need to stop and shoot very quickly. So strafing is a lot harder than something like in Call of Duty because you have to time that stop and shoot very well to be able to do the strafe. You can do a bit of spraying and praying, but more if you do, you're going to get stuck in the lower elos of the game. And the other key element, what maybe separates it from Counter-Strike, because I know we've took the piss out of it a little bit for being a Counter-Strike clone.
Yeah.
But each character has different abilities which you can use to help you in the game. So you've got controllers who can plant smokes down to block off locations so you can get entry.
Like almost a bit like Rainbow Six Siege.
Yes, a bit like that as well, actually. And then you've got duelists, your attackers. They need to be entry into a site, getting the first couple of kills. And then you've got sentinels who defend. So you've got Killjoy, who is my main, who you put turrets and alarm bots and bombs down to defend a site. Sage, who makes an ice wall and can heal people, and then they all get ultimate abilities through kills as well. So Sage, you can revive one of your team. You probably only get two or 3 ultimates a game because it's 1st to 13. So you get 2 rounds of 6, so 6 rounds in defence, 6 rounds in attack, and then if it's tied, you go into overtime.
And how is levelling handled? Do the characters themselves level up? Do you level up as an account?
You level up as an account, but in primarily source, leveling isn't a big part of it unless you want to play ranked. So when you're new to the game, you have to play a certain amount of unranked games to be able to go into ranked. And then there's an RR system, so each time you win, the better you perform, the more RR you get. So you start off in Iron, and it goes all the way up to like Platinum or something. A lot of people tend to be in the Gold mark, Diamond. There's different ranking systems in the ranked, and obviously the better you are, the higher you'll be, but the harder the games will be.
This is free to play, so how is it monetized?
Skins.
Right.
Gun skins at that. Very, very expensive. And unlike other free-to-play games, it's not that generous in what you get free in terms of skins. There is a battle pass, but again, you don't get that many good skins from it. And if you complete the battle pass, you don't get it free next time. Like, again, a lot of games, you buy it once, and if you complete it, you keep buying it. So I think it's not very generous in what it gives you, but the other side of that is if you do just have a standard gun and you kill someone with a skin, you can just pick up their gun. So you still do get to play with skins without buying them. But primarily it is the skins what are very expensive.
Are there operator skins as well as gun skins?
There's not, it is just gun skins.
Really? That's very interesting, that.
I think it's to do with the competitive side of it. For pro plays, there might be arguments that agent skins can give people unfair advantages.
That makes sense. So we've mentioned a lot of this game's influences: Counter-Strike, Overwatch, Rainbow Six. Why should you play Valorant instead of those, or maybe you shouldn't?
I think in terms of over Counter-Strike, it's maybe a easier entry point. I think, it's very similar to Counter-Strike, but I feel it's easier to get into the cartoony aesthetics, the agents. So I think if you're new to this type of tactical shooter, because it's very different, like we said earlier, to the likes of Call of Duty. If you're new to this type of game, I think it would definitely be your first entry point, because it's more forgiving than the likes of Counter-Strike. But I think games like Counter-Strike and even Valorant to a certain degree suffer from toxicity. I think some of the player base in it, especially being free to play, it does have a problem with Smurfs, and it does have a problem with people being toxic in not the good way, because we all like to say, you should be able to say some things, but I think some people take it to the different extremes.
Is it well moderated?
Not really, no. The way it's moderated is a reporting system, so you play your way and people don't like it, you'll get enough reports and you'll get a one-day ban because you've been reported loads, not because you've actually done anything wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not
open
really
to abuse then, really.
100%, and it's so easy for people to smurf because you don't have to put that many hours in to then be able to go on a Smurf account, even though you're a Radiant, really good player, playing with your mates who are less good, and then you're getting 40-1 kills a game. Unfortunately, you encounter that slightly too often at the lower levels, which does just make it a bit frustrating.
I think we can describe the graphics as functional, with the advantage being that you could probably run it on quite a low-end PC. Is the sound design good? Can you pinpoint where people are just through listening to a decent pair of headphones?
Not to the extent of some games, but it's definitely, like the graphics, it's functional. You can hear enough. Do you sometimes think someone is where they're not and it gets you killed? Yes. I quite like the art style, but it's by no means a beautiful game.
It's been out for a few years now. Has it evolved very much over that time?
New maps, new agents, a few new guns, and then obviously balance patches. No massive evolutions. And in my eyes, maybe I think the longer the game's been out, it's maybe got a little bit worse than when it launched.
That's very interesting. So let's score it as it is now.
As it is now, I would say 77%.
Which on our review scale is still good.
I think the reason I'm saying 77, I think it's just some of the things what keep you away from the game, like I mentioned, for toxicity, and the abuse of the Smurfs, especially when you're new to a game. You don't want to be going into 1 in 3 games with a player who's unplayable. I think if it wasn't for that, I would be rating it higher.
Okay, so it sounds like this is a game for a particular kind of audience, not necessarily for everyone.
Or if you're wanting to try that style of game before maybe getting into Counter-Strike.